We've got McGinn, Super John McGinn. Right, lads, let's have a good chat about John McGinn. So just a reminder, we do have an ongoing giveaway for either match tickets or a shirt of your choice. With this being a John McGinn episode, don't miss out on getting a John McGinn t-shirt. So all you need to do to qualify is hit that subscribe button. We give that away every 500 subs, and we are getting close to the next giveaway, so don't miss out. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We do have a goal on the video as well of 20 likes, so make sure to smash the like button for Super John McGinn. Welcome back to the latest episode of B6 and Beyond. You are here with me, Matt and Corey, to have a chat about captain Mr. Fantastic, Mr. Aston Villa, John McGinn, especially in line with his 300th appearance for Aston Villa. I think it is I can't think of a more perfect time to sit down and just have a chat about our captain and what it looks like from the fan's perspective. So, chaps, let's have a chat. John McGinn, his debut against Wigan. I'm sure we've all watched the video now of the clips from Villa have put out on YouTube, and it just threw me back like a good few years now, and I can just remember that player coming on the bench when he signed from Hibs. I was like, who on earth have we signed here? And it was only a small fee. And I had no idea who John McGinn was in the slightest. And all I can remember was doing a bit of research. And I remember distinctly Celtic fans were quite butthurt and quite disappointed at the fact that they were going to miss out on him. And the news from inside Scotland and what people saying in Scotland, that he was a decent player. And I got a little bit excited when the transfer happened. But I just remember being at that game against Wigan and just seeing this little Scottish fella absolutely running around Villa Park like a bull terrier, and we have seen it every season since. What was your initial thoughts on John McGinn?
I was going to say, mate, like you just said, we've seen it every season since. I remember when he signed for 2.5 mil, my old man was like, probably be a decent squad player. He probably won't set the world on fire. And then that performance against Wigan, where I think he covered every blade of grass twice. I think got an assist from an own goal from the corner, got man of the match. And ever since then, he's just dropped 8 out of 10 plus performances week in, week out. Deservedly got the armband now, and he is just, the word gets thrown around too much, but he's a proper Villa legend, isn't he?
It's a funny one as well, isn't it? Obviously, like you see when we signed him, and he just doesn't look like a footballer, does he? He's not your typical sort of glamour boy. Like, obviously, we had Grealish at the time, people like that, and he's nothing typical like that. And you saw him, you think, like you said, it's like 2.5 million. Who have we signed? What's going on? Bit of a crisis time for Villa at the time. Obviously, losing the playoff final, you're thinking we need a bit of quality, and then they go and sign someone from the Scottish Second Division. You're thinking, Jesus Christ, what's going on here? And lo and behold, he's turned into one of the best players we've had in recent times.
I think he's probably as far from Grealish as you could probably get, but in terms of likability, no one can dislike John McGinn. If you dislike John McGinn, I've got to ask you personally a question: what is wrong with you as a character? Because the man is just, he's so funny as well. Obviously, we don't get to see everything, but from what we do see from inside, on social media, what he does with the other players, it just shows that he is genuinely a likable, funny guy. And the way I described him, I just described him off air to Corey, is like, I would love to go for a pint with John McGinn, because you could just imagine going out for a beer with McGinn. It'd be absolutely hilarious.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't be getting home until 5 o'clock in the morning, would you?
But then his playing style just reminds me of a Duracell bunny. He just does not stop. He's just 100% all the time. So in terms of his importance of his current role as captain in the squad, how do you feel that has grown over the years? Because obviously there was a bit of uncertainty when he was given the captaincy under Steven Gerrard, wasn't it, when he stripped Tyrone Mings? I personally think he's massively grew into that role.
I think yes as well. No. Going back to what you've just said, Corey, like, he's such a likeable man off the pitch that I think that helps to transition on the pitch. That all the boys will like run that extra yard for him because they love him so much in the dressing room that translates to on the pitch. Obviously, it was a bit controversial when Mings did get stripped of the armband from Gerrard. I think Gerrard and Mings might have had a bit of beef or whatever, and Mings was a great captain, but McGinn has really taken that role on and like kind of driven us forward, especially at the start of this season where it wasn't too good, and he was doing interviews after the game saying like, this blip isn't going to last, and if it's down to me, it's going to change like next week, and it has. And since then, we've gone on that little run and pushed ourselves back into kind of Champions League contention.
Yeah, I think it's easy to forget as well. Obviously, when he first became captain of Aston Villa, that first few weeks, I think a lot of Villa fans were wanting him to be dropped because his performances were absolutely terrible, and everyone was saying the captain's armband's gone to his head, like he just wasn't good enough, that sort of thing. And then, like you say, just week in, week out after that, he just sort of took that responsibility and said, "Do you know what? I am captain of a massive football club. I am captain of the biggest club in the Midlands, one of the biggest clubs in England. I need to be setting that example," and that's exactly what he does every week.
Do you know, I think it's mad with McGinn, and I'm sometimes like one of the Villa fans that probably does it. I wouldn't put, if I had to pick a Villa 11. I don't necessarily think on ability I would put him in my team all the time, because I think we've got better technically gifted footballers than John McGinn. But I just think for what he gives you, other than his technical ability, and that's not knocking him as a footballer, because generally as a footballer he's a very good footballer, his work rate, his attitude, the application from him, he just sets the tone instantly for the rest of the team. And without him on the pitch, one thing I always say, if John McGinn plays well, Aston Villa 95% of the time play well. And what you just said there, Matt, about him being the one of the big key points for Villa and turning that season around. He massively was, because we were so poor, but he was still setting the tone each game and running that extra 100 miles an hour just to try and get the boys going. And ultimately, with the goals that he did score against Bologna, he scored against Fulham, that the goal to give us a little bit of an edge over them, and they were massive goals. And I do feel like if it weren't for him, could that run have continued? Because I personally think it could have, because that Bologna game for me was a bit of a turning point. As poor as we was, it was still that win that kind of got the momentum and kind of give our season a bit of a jump start.
I think the key turning point was obviously that first win of the season against Fulham. And as you say, McGinn got the goal, but he also got man of the match. So it was that thing of it was a proper captain's performance. There's so many times where we use that term for John McGinn, a captain's performance. It might not be a goal, it might not be an assist, but he's always putting in that, like you said, Matt. He'll cover every blade of grass on the pitch twice. That's the sort of player he is. He'll leave nothing unturned, and he's always putting in those sort of captain's performances when we need it. Some of the best moments in recent Villa history, which we'll get on to, he's been heavily involved in.
And what you just said as well, Ben, is like if you were going starting 11, the best starting 11 on paper, you'd probably have currently Unana Kamara as the two in the middle, Tillemans in the 10, and then not necessarily McGinn on the wing because he lacks a bit of pace. But you can't not have McGinn in the starting 11 because of his profile, what he brings, leadership, energy. You're getting a minimum 8 out of 10 performance. And like you just said, when McGinn's playing well, the rest of the squad is playing well. He's the absolute catalyst that keeps us ticking forward.
So if we are back his first season at Aston Villa, he was genuinely very good in his first season. I think it was in his first season where he scored that absolute screamer against Sheffield Wednesday.
It was his first goal. First goal for Villa.
I didn't realise that was his first goal.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, if that's what a first goal, that has to be it's the best goal I've ever seen at Villa Park by a country mile. How that was that he says in the interview, just to let you know, Matt, he says about that he went to basically the awards with the FA, and he was told that he was getting player of the goal of the season award, so that's why he rocked up and he didn't have a drink because I think we were playing not long after that.
We had the playoff game against West Brom, yeah.
It was at the playoff game against West Brom, and he basically went there, and then they give it to Ruben Neves, and it was voted for on the night. You can imagine how fuming he was. But I don't know how that got on. Don't get me wrong, Ruben Neves had some bangers that season, because that was a season he in the Championship for Wolves, and he was scoring volley after volley after volley.
When he popped it off on the edge of the box. And, that was a great goal. But McGinn's technique...
It was, but the swaz on that McGinn goal was probably, honestly, the most difficult technique you can ever hit in football. Like you go out and you try and hit a ball like that, because, hitting one in the top corner off the crossbar and in, is ridiculous. Like it's more just just trying to play a 15-yard pass with that swaz is ridiculously difficult. So for him to hit it on the edge of the box off the crossbar and in, and it didn't get. God, I just don't get how that was not goal of the season.
The most difficult part about that goal as well is that he sidewinded it. For the ball to be dropping from the air and to go with a side volley rather than just sort of a natural volley says it all. That's just the type of crazy man that he is. That he's just, but he's got that technique on lock. I mean, he scored a few goals similar to, not obviously similar to that, but in terms of that technique where he's hitting the ball on the sort of side.
It should be like Puskas Award, no, never mind bloody championship goal.
I genuinely say, I always say it's probably the best goal I've ever seen in football in general. I can't think of many better than that in terms of technique.
Corey, what you were just saying about like when he opens his body up and side foots it, like usually on the edge of the area when someone pulls it back, his ball striking ability is second to none.
Yeah.
Like 9 times out of 10, you're like, this is in.
Yeah.
And he just hits it so cleanly, like Bologna the other week, Fulham. There was one actually where he did drag it right against Man City the other week.
Yeah.
Like, that was a rarity. But when he opens his body up, it's like, well, we know where this is going.
He did the one against in the Liverpool game where it finished 7-2 and it came off Van Dijk and it deflected.
Yeah.
But if Van Dijk doesn't get that, it's going in the other bottom corner anyway. Like technically, why it's just ridiculous.
There was one at Chelsea away.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Chelsea away, Crystal Palace away.
Great goal.
But the thing is,
Chelsea one was unbelievable.
He's so casual with it as well. It's not like it's a thing of like you can see he's really going for it. He's like it's either hit or miss. He's just so casual with the technique. I mean, it always springs to mind both goals he scored against Fulham the last 2 seasons where he'll shift it past the player and you're thinking, right, just put your foot through it. And he does, but it's so casual when he does it.
Did he score a belter away at Forest as well?
He scored 2 belters away against Forest.
Yeah.
In the Championship.
Yeah.
And his goal against PSG at home. Took a slight nick, but that's a rocket.
So, next season, John McGinn was absolutely fantastic in the Championship. He, as much as we always hear it, and I remember you did a fantastic video on this on TikTok, Matt, about how everyone was saying about Jack Grealish was the person that dragged us up to the Premier League, but there was multiple players in that Villa squad that got us up from the Championship, and John McGinn was. He was incredible that season. He got Players Player of the Season, and I think the Supporters Player of the Season that year, and he was also the man who scored the goal in the playoff final against Fulham to make it 2-0. So he was absolutely imperious. First full season was that?
It was his first season in general. He joined the year we went up, didn't he? Because we started with Bruce, and to do that in your first season, to come into a club and just, like you say, he took it all in his stride, and, like you say, crucial goal in the playoff final, the goal against Wednesday, Player of the Year. It's ridiculous.
I always forget that was the same season, the Bruce and Dean Smith side, because it's just like the polar comparison between the two sides, because the football we were playing under Steve Bruce was that terrible, absolutely terrible. And then as soon as Dean Smith come in, it was like a complete lift for the club, wasn't it? And then obviously we went on that 10 game winning streak, and we were just ridiculous. And I think as soon as we went on that streak, it just felt like something special was happening at the club. And when you've got a player of like John McGinn, who is absolutely buzzing around the pitch, you've got every chance to win football games, and it just felt like the characters at the club were very good then as well. So it was inevitable for me that we were going to go up.
I think something that's key to mention as well is obviously even before he was given that captain's armband, you can see it in the sort of documentary and things. Him and Grealish, like everyone goes on about Grealish single-handedly carrying us up. John McGinn brought out the best of Jack Grealish that season. Their link up between them two, and John McGinn speaks about it, and Jack Grealish speaks about it in the documentary about how their link up was like top. They just knew what to do. But you think of the goals back now, and you think of some of the goals Grealish has scored in the past, and where McGinn's the one setting him up, or vice versa. Those two just brought the best out of each other. And again, that's John McGinn to a T, bringing the best out of everyone else, not just himself.
Yeah, fans. He's just ridiculous, isn't it? And then we come into the Premier League, first game back, Spurs away in their new stadium. Who's the man that pops up with the goal? And this is the thing with McGinn. He just always seems to produce and score on big occasions for Villa. So you've just mentioned PSG. He scored in the playoff final. He scored in that goal at Pitt and the performance against PSG. At home, he was ridiculous. He was
home and away.
Yeah, he was just ridiculous.
Do you know what's crazy? Just talking about like his highlights in the Championship, then in the Prem, and then Champions League. He's never looked out of place against whoever we've been against. Like he was one of the best players on the pitch against PSG, who went on to win the Champions League. Their striker got Ballon d'Or, but he was one of the best names on that pitch that day. I genuinely don't know what his level is, because he just always finds an extra level and bullies the people he's around, whether it's in the Championship or Champions League. He'll drop a 8 out of 10 performance all the time. Is unbelievable.
Well, it's funny as well, because obviously you mentioned it, Matt, about how obviously McGinn, he's not a winger. He's played out there for us and he's not got the traits, but he bullied Nuno Mendes as well. Like, that is the best left back in world football at the moment. A player who, don't get me wrong, obviously, yes, Nuno Mendes did score against us in both games. Like, that's not to say that McGinn didn't do his job defensively well, but the first goal in the game, it's come from that, where, for us in that away game, where he's gone and bullied him off the ball. And then he's phenomenal, isn't he? He just really is.
Well, Nick McGinn who got the assist for Tielemans as well.
Yes, I think so.
He rolled it. It was McGinn. He rolled it to him, and then Tielemans slotted it past the keeper. Well, slotted, it was a deflection, but we got like, multiple deflected goals that game. But ultimately, it was McGinn again setting the tone, running his absolute arse off, and being the line for Aston Villa and for the players to work to.
He broke the goal up for the first goal away as well, up against PSG. Won the ball in the middle of the park, drove forward for like 25 yards, sprayed it out wide, and then cut across goal for Rodgers. And without him there, like, that goal doesn't happen at all. And it was his unique profile of like using his bottom, backing in, winning the ball. They couldn't grab him, and he's such a unique profile as a midfielder.
And the thing is as well is that was such a key moment in the tie, because I think it's fair to say, I think all of us Villa fans, obviously Matt, you were there, you would have experienced it there, and obviously myself and Ben would have been watching from home. Watching that game, I don't know about you guys, but I was like, we're going to lose about 6 or 7-0 at this point, because those first 15, 20, we didn't touch the ball. And then obviously that goal comes out of nowhere and you're thinking,
we're going to win the lot.
Yeah, genuinely, that's what it was like. But again, that's the sort of player he is, just by that sort of thing where he's done that. He's not just helping the team, the fans start to believe as well.
So obviously he's just signed a new deal at Aston Villa at 31 years old. That's going to keep him at the club till 2028, I think it is. So another 3 years of John McGinn. So he'll be 30, 34 when he potentially leaves Aston Villa. I feel like he could easily go on until that sort of age. And he's not. He hasn't got like pace to burn. He's not rapid. He's never in electric. He's just more about his stamina, his endurance, and that's kind of what makes McGinn the player he is. So I think he'll go on to that quite comfortably. And then whether he looks to move on to Scotland after that, and I don't know, go back to he's going to go to Celtic. You would assume at some point in his career because of him being a massive Celtic fan. You would assume, but what does John McGinn need to do over the next 3 years for you? Because for me personally, I think he's already at legend status at Aston Villa because of his length of service, being over 300 games to the club. And I'm a big believer you have to look at legends as periods of time, and ultimately where he was when he come in and when he got us up to the Premier League and he was part of that squad, and he's been with us literally that whole journey up to the Champions League quarterfinals. I think that kind of justifies a legend, but I just think personally, if he did get a trophy and he was a captain to lift silverware for Aston Villa, bloody hell, he'd be not far off getting a statue built. Sorry.
I think for me personally, I think him and Mings are in that legendary status where, like you say, the trophy they have won is obviously the playoff trophy at the moment. It'd be nice if we can see them lift the Europa League trophy this year. That would, like you say, that would solidify any doubts in any people's mind. But I think specifically them two, where they've come from in terms of coming from Scotland, coming from obviously an ACL injury that Tyrone Mings had when he was at Bournemouth, and then coming into Villa, and just the way them two have sort of helped embody this club. I know obviously this is about McGinn, but them two embodying the club and then taking it on their shoulders and saying, do you know what, this is Aston Villa, this is where we belong, and this is where we should be. For me, them two, they're already legends, and I think, like I say, if we can win the Europa League this year or FA Cup, whatever it is, if we get ourselves a trophy, that's 100% for anybody who doubts it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. To be honest with you, mate, if we do win the Europa League this year, which I think we will, I think there's a very good chance of it. I want to see an Unai Emery and John McGinn statue built outside the Holten with them holding the trophy. That would be, I think, fitting for the period of time in the football club. I don't know how many other Villa fans feel the same way about that, but I love McGinn. I absolutely love McGinn, and I think he feels like a Brummie.
Yeah.
That might sound really weird. He feels like he's like completely built into the club and the area. For me, he's Mr. Aston Villa.
Do you know what I think would be a perfect full circle moment as well? Is that playoff moment of Jack Grealish and James Chester lifting the trophy together to a night in Istanbul of John McGinn and Tyrone Mings side by side lifting that trophy. That'd be like a full circle moment for me where...
Are you trying to make me cry?
Do you know what I mean? It just would be that full circle moment of like the two people who deserve it most are in that moment. And obviously Unai Emery can just be there with his usual thing of, this is my fifth one.
Corey, you know what's going to happen? McGinn's going to score the winner in the Europa League final. He'll just pop
up.
Oh,
man, stop it.
Yeah, like edge of the area.
I'll probably run on the pitch, mate, if that's okay. If that happens, I'll be on the pitch, mate. I'll be celebrating with him. Tell me how much I love him. I don't mind spending the night in like a Turkish jail, mate. Just to tell John McGinn how much I love him.
He'll probably come and visit you.
He is absolutely a legend already. He is a legend, regardless of if he lifts anything. But to just like crown what has been an unbelievable servant to the club and 300 plus appearances, like you said, till 2028. Yeah. He might rack up he might get to 500 potentially. Who knows? If he stays on again. Because like he doesn't rely on his pace, like you said, Corey. He's not a winger. So his whole style of play, he could just keep ticking along until he's maybe 36, 37. And we're seeing footballers play until they're a lot older as well now, at a higher level. But if he could round off his time at Villa with the armband and the Europa League, it would...
Well, one thing that's becoming more common as well, Matt, like you say, is players slowly dropping further back on the pitch as well. So, like, I mean, you look at someone like Ross Barkley, started as a 10. I know he's played 10 for us. He's now playing as more of a 6. And McGinn started to do that already, playing as a 6 for us when we've needed him. And I think, obviously, when he does there will become a time where he starts to lose a bit of pace, maybe when he's sort of coming towards the end of this contract. And we might see it get extended, playing in the 6. And then, obviously, when he's 36, 37, he can go off to Celtic and go and lift a Scottish Premiership there with them and enjoy his retirement with Andy Robertson.
I don't even if it's the point to get where he gets to the point where he's not playing week in week out. I think his leadership and him being around the dressing room will be worth tenfold anyway. You know, like I said, he's a voice, he's a leader in the dressing room, isn't he? So. The new contract and the length of it, I think it was an absolute savvy bit of business by the club to get that done.
I'll always love that conversation of Unai Emery saying, John, I've watched your last 10 games. You're not very good. Lucky for you. I've watched the other 10 before that and the 10 before that, and I can see that you're a good player. And I think ever since then, that's what we needed. We needed someone to come in and sort of almost reinstate that confidence into the likes of McGinn and just say, listen, you are Mr. Aston Villa now. This is your club, so to speak. Go and prove that, and that's exactly what's happened.
Well, I hope that we've covered everything there. I'm pretty sure we have, lads, and I'm pretty sure. I'm hopeful that you guys that have watched it have enjoyed our discussion on John McGinn, Super John McGinn, and hopefully we do see that Europa League lift in the final in Istanbul in the summer. So on that note, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.